Assalamu alaikum, friends. This conversation is about Muslim issues. Today, I'm speaking with Dr. Khaled Almaeena. He joins us today with from Saudi Arabia, Jeddah. He is a humanitarian, a defender of workers' rights, rights of women, a human rights activist, a veteran Saudi journalist, media commentator, a businessman, and of course, a family man. Khaled was the editor-in-chief of Arab News and later on Saudi Gazette. His op-ed pieces have appeared in newspapers around the globe. He has worked for the advancement of women, and that is our topic today, and was the first employer of women in Saudi Arabia at Arab News. Later on, his daughter Lena was appointed to the Shura Council in 2016. He is a vanguard of workers' rights and had focused on reporting and seeking justice for them. Among them were Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, Muslim workers coming from overseas and working in Saudi Arabia. He is known as the man behind the green truth. Khaled was recognized for standing up for the rights of oppressed and projecting the true values of Islam. And this is very important. The Pakistani government awarded him their highest civilian award, the Sitara-e-Imtiaz. I'm sure you remember Dilip Kumar was awarded the same Sitara-e-Imtiaz later on. In Philippines, he was honored with the doctorate, honorary doctorate as well. At the Center for Pluralism and World Muslim Congress, we see an alignment of our work with Dr. Khaled Almaeena. He brings people together, standing up for their rights to create secure societies for every human being. Now, Dr. Khaled, the floor is yours. I'd like you to share the changes that are happening in Saudi Arabia with the new government, the positive changes that are occurring. Yes, sir, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for that very generous introduction. Thank you for that very generous introduction.
Our pleasure.
I was lucky to be in the right place at the right time. I always had that feeling of going into media and journalism, and I was lucky to be appointed straight away as the editor of the Arab News, where I was privileged to work with stalwarts and with good people and had good mentors. And my advice to young people these days in Saudi Arabia and the world over is to have a nice mentor where you can learn a lot. Humility is the true hallmark of a scholar or a would-be scholar.
Indeed.
Well, to go to Saudi Arabia.
And on that note, Khaled, on that note, sorry. On that note, when you said humility, that is our program on the next hour with Dr. Safi Kaskas and I. We're going to talk about humility, how it builds bridges in the nations and communities. Please continue.
I had no idea about that, but anyway, what I would like to stress that Saudi Arabia is passing through very interesting times. And as I read about events around the globe, I am grateful that what is happening, the changes that are happening in Saudi Arabia. And as you know me by now, I'm a very independent person and a headstrong person, and I speak out my mind. But let me assure you and others that we are on the right track. What has happened in the past 4 years has been something that has really overtaken many efforts done by other people, especially when people talk about young people. Before I met you the last time, a couple of weeks ago, I talked to a group of 10 people and I asked them about their satisfaction level, and it was pretty high. What is happening now in Saudi Arabia is a sea change. The inclusion of young people in the decision-making process, in authority, in the government, where you have young people, head organizations, head institutions. They are working together in tandem with the government to come up with a new Saudi Arabia. I read the Saudi Vision 2030 a couple of years ago, and I read it well as an academic, very well crafted, and I read it both in Arabic and English. Now, the road is long and arduous. I will not be among those who say it is going to be easy sailing. What I'm saying, it is going to be very tough. It is going to be a long and arduous road, but at least we have a plan where we will be in 2030. This is very important because we had 5-year plans before, every 5 years, but there were no KPIs. The accountability factor is now very high. The governance level also is now very well pinpointed by the government. So you see that.
I'm so glad to hear that, Khalid. In fact, without planning, nothing ever happens. If you have a plan, you talk about it, you think about it, and you move towards it. In this book, the American Muslim Agenda, that you may have a copy of that, what we have done, as you mentioned, the Saudi Vision 2030, we have a 2036 vision in this book, and that is to have a Muslim American president in the US in 2036 elections. And the book lays out the details. How do we do? What do we all need to do to get there? Even if we don't get there, but we have a vision to go forward. And I'm so glad to hear. I would like to hear more about the 2030 vision.
The 2030 vision also basically, from an economic standpoint, would be to lessen the dependence on oil. As we all know, and you don't have to be an Einstein to know that, is that the world is changing fast. Alternative sources of energy are coming up. Solar energy, other energies, hydrocarbons are being pushed aside. So in that respect, we are looking for new forms, whether in the field of science, information data, tourism, the ecology factor has been taken into consideration. With all these things in the background and also in front of us, the 2030 vision is now a clear-cut plan to know where we will be as the years pass by and we reach that year. There have been several successive reforms in this respect.
Please share.
And one of them was starting to the regulations, restructuring the powers of the religious police before, which used to interfere in every facet of life, whether it was business or whether it was society and all. That was important. The other thing that, and I think what the Crown Prince did was removing the ban on women driving, which had no, religious or social principle. You see, this was very important because, you had to be tough to take these decisions. I'm not one of those who praises people, but let me tell you, I would give the Crown Prince 10 out of 10, maybe 50 out of 10 for taking this head on and going ahead and doing it. You cannot imagine how much the inclusion of the women folk in business, in society, has taken place because of the driving. There were drivers before, there was public transport, but to deprive 50% of the population from work is tantamount to suicide. So this has been averted. This has been now projected that women are equal to men, which Islam already has professed 1400 years ago.
Absolutely.
People who say about Muslim women in the background, they should know that the boss of the Prophet was a woman, Sittana Khadija, whom he used to work for. And
yes.
The Prophet was called an Amin, the truthful, because he was a very good person and he took care of the business in an honest and very appropriate way. These things are coming in the forefront. When I arrived from your city 4-5 days ago, at the airport, there were women at the counter, there were women in the customs, there were women outside. So
In
where
Jeddah
were they
Airport?
before?
In
You
Jeddah
have
Airport?
now given women in Jeddah, yes, in Jeddah airport. I went to Qasim before Ramadan, and where Qasim was thought to be the bedrock of regression. In Qasim, at the hotel, at the counter, the woman was there. So the Saudi women are second to none. They have now been given a chance to play the role. And by the way, these are not cosmetic gestures. I truly believe that the Crown Prince meant it when he said that women are, equal to men, which again, God has said that before in the holy books and the scriptures. And this is exactly now what is being practiced. And
Dr.
I'm
Almaina,
very happy to see that women are doing it.
Dr. Maina, what kind of opposition did he face when he made that announcement?
Well, there are always those who oppose progression, and I'm sure there are people who did not like it. And I'll be very frank, there are still some people who complain about women taking over men's job and all. And I always tell them what I had written in my office in the Arab News years ago, right in front of my desk on a big placard: the best man for the job is a woman. And I think
Wow.
here it is not just being the best man for the job as a woman. I think the Crown Prince believes that women are equally talented, they're equally capable of taking on a task. And this doesn't apply to all women. There are important things to be done. Men, by the way, have not been sidelined because, some of these people who have these negative thoughts that think, oh, when women come, men will not be given jobs. No, those who are qualified and those who seek, positions that they can contribute to will be taken over. I'm very happy about this.
And that is a sea change,
So this, to
as you
me, is a
mentioned
great
earlier.
thing. See, yes, and let me add some more things. There were some newspaper reports about the treatment of women or the maltreatment of women. And I can tell you this, and I'm an ordinary person, since women drove, you see, because we don't have the culture of violence, social violence against women, no kidnappings, rapes, molesting, things like that in highways or roads. So women are driving, women are coming, women are going, strict rules and regulations. And one of the good things that the government did was to have the anti-harassment law. No man can now raise his eyes or do something because there are applications that can land the guy in hot soup. So this is important. So very important to see. And
So,
this fear that some of these men had that, women, something would happen to them, and some of these harbingers of reactionary thought had said before, this will happen, that will happen, that has all been laid to rest. Women are out in the forefront, and I'm very humble and proud at the same time to tell you that Saudi women are being selected because of their professionalism, their academic qualifications, and their determination to be a part of the development of this country.
and that is a very beautiful change. What about some of the other changes in the Sharia law, like cutting the hands or chopping the head? And what about those laws?
You see, there is going to be codification of the Islamic laws. I mean, like chopping the hands and cutting, and there, a lot of these were myths, like the stoning. I've been trying to figure out if somebody has been stoned. I think, and I truly made an academic research into this. Many myths about Saudi Arabia exist even now. We will bend backwards, and yet there are people who will always find fault within us. But let me tell you one thing, even the justice system is now being given a look over, and the ironing of any of these wrinkles that are there exist. The Crown Prince was on television, I think on April the 27th of this year, where he spoke of codification, where he spoke of the abidance by the Quran and the Sunnah, where he spoke of looking at some of the weak hadiths that existed. And, so these are a refreshing mode of thought for the people, within and without. Give an example. The blaring of the loudspeakers of the mosques.
Yes, indeed.
Now, nobody's against the adhan. Immediately people said the adhan is under danger, so and so. Nonsense. Adhan is there, the call for prayer is there, and it's done in a nice way with a focus on the acoustics of the mosque and the area. Now, the other part is where somebody would be inside and give a lecture and scream and shout and all. That has been curtailed and stopped. So you see, the rumor went outside in the subcontinent and other places in Indonesia. They've stopped adhan. Nonsense. Islam is an integral part of our life. The ideology that is flexible, that is self-motivating, that is progressive will exist. We abide by it, but at the same time, we have to modernize our thought and way of life. We here are focusing on the hadith, you see, in the sense of modernization and not westernization, because people are talking about westernization. We do not want to westernize. We would like to modernize, and Islam is always in the mode of modernization, acceptance of new ideas and technology and other things.
What does modernization to you mean, and what are the major items that you're looking to modernize?
Well, for example, now the thing that one has to see is the workplace, is the economy, commerce, the courts, movement, societal acceptance of several other things. That is, for me, modernization, which existed in Islam even before. We do not want to follow others or try to imitate or ape others. What we want is to live like Muslims with the Quran and the Sunnah as our basic values. At the same time, we would like to see everyone in society play their role as prescribed by Allah.
I think you made a very good point. I don't think there is any recorded stoning in Saudi Arabia, but it was in Iran that one stoning happened that went viral all over the world, and one in Afghanistan, but I don't think it happened in Saudi Arabia. But what about the chopping of, cutting off the head in the public square?
Well, let me tell you, as they say in England, one swallow does not make a summer. So if one bird comes up in the end of the winter, the summer doesn't come. Now, there are things that are there, like, for example, the had, where if somebody, and people do not also know this, in how many cases in Islam, if somebody kills somebody premeditatedly, he, after being tried, is sentenced to death. Now, if the family of the victim forgives him, you see, then he's let go. How many cases, Mike, there have been in Saudi Arabia where the family of the victim forgave the person and the person was spared from the firing squad or the sword? This has never been reported outside. The only report happens is when somebody is killed. You have people being, executed by cyanide, by injections, by electric chairs. Nobody speaks about that. But in Islam, there's still a way out. The way out is for forgiveness. This doesn't exist elsewhere. And I'm not being disrespectful to others.
Yes.
This has been totally overlooked. Yes.
What about the lost and apostate? I think Rifai was apparently, he is on death row or something like that. What about apostates? How is it treated now? Will be treated in the future?
The law of apostate also. I'll be frank with you. I am not much familiar with those laws.
मैं program पे हूँ, आप check कर लें. आप check कर लें email. Thanks. I'm sorry.
Yes, by apostrophe or blasphemy laws, I'm not an expert, so I cannot dwell on that. And I hope that somebody like the doctor or some people who know about it. But let me tell you that when you hear of blasphemy laws in certain countries and in the subcontinent, in Pakistan itself, we don't have those things that people are just being killed and all. And blasphemy laws, if you remember, were introduced by the British when they governed India.
Exactly.
Well, this is it. So we are away from these things. But I will tell you one thing, that Islam, mercy is the focal point. And I truly believe that what is happening now in this country is to encompass the beautiful aspects of Islam, the lighter side of the moments, to have less, force in dealing with certain issues. You see things that were not before prevailing are there. Before they were, in the name of Islam, they were prevented, and people wouldn't do those things. Right now, people go out, people come and all. At the same time, you should not be an aja provocateur. If you have no knowledge about religion, no need for you to come up with certain statements, deny certain things. I'm not a scholar of Islam. I know the basics. I am a Muslim, a practicing Muslim. So that's why I was not able even to answer your questions. So what needs to be done is to talk to the right people.
Indeed, indeed. Khaled, you want to summarize the changes, positive things that you're talking about in a few minutes? Then we will take 2 or 3 questions and end the program about 1:40 in about 15 minutes.
Well, frankly speaking, I would be termed as a senior citizen. I'm happy the changes have happened. As I told you, I sat with a young man even after I left you and came, and the young man said that he's happy. He's not westernized. He has lived in England. He went to a public school in Britain, but he says that he's happy. People now in Saudi Arabia, before, when the vacation period started, used to travel abroad, to go to neighboring countries, to go to Egypt, to go here. Now they're sitting, enjoying themselves within the framework of Islam, going having to the beach, going here, playing sports, doing things, listening to music. So these are very positive changes. The feeling of belonging, and I tell you this, the feeling of belonging has now been embedded in the hearts of the young people. There is a sense of pride. And honestly, Dr. Mike, this didn't exist before. There is that feeling that there is hope. And it's not just 2030. It is something that we can make something out of this effort. Because with 70% of young people there who had no access before to in the decision-making process, and now are having jobs and situation, being board members. I checked up a major company, and I saw the average age of the board members was less than 40. Well, I mean, no sense of envy, but there it was. It's their time. Yes. And everyone has his day. So this Indeed. Is something that will change. The other thing, notary public, Dr. Mike, I asked to go and see the notary public. A woman comes, Muwassiqa comes to my office. She signs. In the courtrooms, you will find women. Everywhere, women. And again, as I said, not cosmetic. This is the real beauty of the deen that was supposed to have happened a long time ago. A box has been opened, a door has been opened, and people have come out. And not as many of these who speak of gloom and doom and some of the unfortunate people who self-appointed religious, this bad things will happen. No, people are people. The mosques are full. People are praying. Alhamdulillah, main thing in Islam is akhlaq. And the cornerstone of Islam is justice. We are trying our best. We are not the perfect people. We don't claim to be. Saudi Arabia still has a long way to go. There are many pitfalls on the way to 2030. Yet there is recognition that these are issues that will come up in our way. And these are issues that our young people will have to go ahead and, do away with it so that we can have a better paved road as we go. To finalize, I think the Saudi youth now would want to be passengers on the train of progress in life rather than being mere bystanders.
That's a beautiful summary, and I'm very optimistic about what's happening in Saudi Arabia. I think it is a sea change, as you said. I think one or two of my friends have joined the conversation. If they have questions, please feel free to ask.
Hello, Mike, and assalamu alaikum to everybody. This is Abu Bakr Ibrahim from Dallas. I'm sorry I got a little late. I had another commitment, but this is a very interesting subject, and I think Mr. Khaled explained it precisely the way it is. A couple of days ago, Mike, I heard a live 1-hour interview with Prince Turki Al Faisal from Saudi Arabia with CNBC. It was a very interesting and informative interview. In it, he said that the Saudi Arabia has the two Islamic holy sites of Islam, the birthplace of Islam, Makkah, and the birthplace of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in Makkah, and the founding of Islam in the beautiful city of Medina. And 1/5 of humanity around the world on this planet stand 5 times a day and pray towards those two sites. This is an immense responsibility on the Saudi authorities. Not only are they the de facto leaders of the Muslim world, but they also have a responsibility through these holy sites to unite the Muslim world on this planet and bring them together instead of keeping them apart.
What would be your question to Dr. Khaled Almaeena?
Yeah, well, Saudi Arabia's, Dr. Khalid, Saudi Arabia's Islamic institutions have undergone massive reform. As Prince Mohammed bin Salman introduced Vision 2030, right? These reforms are incremental. Do you think, I assume you're a Saudi citizen and you're from Saudi Arabia, that these reforms are compatible with the Saudi Arabia's authorities' responsibility towards the Muslim world?
Beautifully said. Would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, that's my question. Are these reforms that are being introduced, Mr. Khalid, are they compatible for the rest of the Muslim world? And in your opinion, will they work for the future?
Good question.
I think yes, they will work in the future, because if they are of Islamic values, they are applicable everywhere. So there are no such thing as Islam of Saudi Arabia or the Islam of others. The basic tenets of Islam are the same. Cultures different, political outlook difference, other views they are different in different countries, you see. But basically, goodness, honesty, things to be done, the Quran and the Sunnah, the good interpretations of Salah and Siyam, and everything is basically the same. So I think they will work, yes. Saudi Arabia has been host to the Organization of Islamic Conference, to the World Muslim League and all. Now these need to be, to be reinforced. And I'm sure as internally we are now restructuring and making this vision, I'm sure the government has in mind also to see to it that we play a paramount, to have a paramount work in the whole Muslim world. It doesn't mean that we want to be leaders of the Muslim world. No, we want to be a powerful guide and a powerful force, a powerful partner in what is happening around, not only in the Muslim world, in other worlds, because humanity is the same. The government here has been quite open about helping other people even before these changings have happened. So I think, yes, I am quite positive and about what is going to happen in the future.
I hope that answers your questions, Mr. Abu Bakr.
It does. Yeah, I do have a follow-up though.
Go ahead.
Since there have been some significant changes, now I know Wahhabism has played a central role in the Saudi philosophy and religious environment. Is this going to continue with the reforms, or are the reforms going to be decelerating Wahhabism? For example, now Prince Mohammed bin Salman has allowed women to drive. He's allowed cinemas to come into various parts of Saudi Arabia. And tourists are going to be allowed in many cities of this beautiful country. And is this in line with the Wahhabism? And also, Prince Salman did say that the Constitution of Saudi Arabia is the Holy Quran. So all of these reforms, as I've indicated, the cinema, the woman, Wahhabism, its relationship with the international community, the 9/11 events and how they impacted Saudi Arabia, all of these factors considered in the reforms, and how will they move forward with all these important factors. Like Mike explained, Sharia law is applicable. People are still, hands are being chopped off, although there have been gender liberalization. It has not completely implemented gender equality. So, Mr. Khaled, these are the few points that come to my mind, and I wonder if you could, enlighten us on those.
I mean, I wonder why the focus on hands being chopped off. I'm trying to find out and know when was the last hand being chopped off. Frankly speaking, there are rules and regulations, there's codification of law, and there's no such thing as Wahhabism. There are certain people. Wahhabism was not a state philosophy, but there was a strong, quarter among the ulama and others. But all these have been brushed aside by the Crown Prince, who again maintained that the Quran is the law, that other things are there. There is also Sharia. But again, as I said, there were social restrictions, nothing to do with Sharia, like the movies and driving, because women have been driving in other Muslim countries. Movies were there in Egypt. So to say that this had to do with Sharia, I think is not right. What I'm saying is that Saudi Arabia is now on the edge of a new progress. It is in an era of enlightenment, alhamdulillah. And again, let me assure people, it is not doing away with any of the religion or any of the Islamic values that we still possess.
Thank you, Mr. Khaled. That was very well said. I really appreciate the answer. Of course, we all love Saudi Arabia. It's the country to which we pray 5 times a day. And it's uppermost in our minds to be successful, not only as a country, but as a peoples. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for your response.
Well, thank you, AB.
Inshallah.
Let me share a short. If there is another question we can entertain. If not, I will send a short story of my experience in Saudi Arabia. Way back in 1978, I had a Peugeot 504 I was driving from Shedgum, which is near Upcake, all the way to Dahran. It's about 120 some miles. It was hot summer, 108 or 110 degrees. My car stopped because it's a fuel injection. It didn't function. For 5 hours, I stood on the roadside. You know, in the Western movies, they show the lips being purged, dried up. And I was thinking that I'll be gone completely because I was in heat. There was nobody. If somebody tries to stop, if they go about 80 miles, 120 miles of speed, they cannot stop. So they go away. Finally, somebody with a Datsun truck. At that time, Nissan was Datsun. There was a camel in the back sitting, and there were two goats. He pulled over, and he drove all the way back about 1 or 2 miles back. And I said, I was completely exhausted. I thought I was going to be dead. I thank God for somebody to come and stop. So I thought I was going to sit with the camels and the goats. And I said, that's fine. If that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do. But the gentleman was kind. He asked his wife, who was wearing full abaya, to move towards his side, and I sat at the edge. I was really surprised that he did. Then I went to sleep after that because I was completely exhausted. He took me to his home in near Upcake, someplace I don't remember. Upcake is a town. And he put a cot there, said, take some rest. I did. And then afterwards, he woke me up. I said, it's time for dinner. I was taken completely back. He had invited about 4 or 5 of his friends to come, and he had spread a huge dastarkhan, or the tablecloth, and they were all sitting around, and I just joined them. And I don't know if I was living in a dreamland, la la land, or I didn't know what was happening. Once it was all over, I said, okay, I'm ready to go home. Can somebody drop me? He said, no, your car is ready. He had towed my car away from somebody, got the car fixed, and parked there. And I said, what do I owe you? Because that's a lot of money to tow and repair. He said, no, I need you to make a promise to me. I was afraid what kind of promise he's going to extract from me. And then I said, okay, whatever promise he asked, I'm going to do it because he was good to me. Then he said, what is the promise? He said, next time you see somebody stranded on the street, stop and help them. And then that's how you compensate me. That's how you take your debt off. And that was a beautiful story. I have always enjoyed that hospitality that Saudis gave me in 78. And Khalid, with that, I just want you to say a few words and we'll conclude the program. Dr. Khalid? AB, you want to say a few words?
Oh, well, Saudi Arabia is near and dear to our hearts. I've been there for the pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina. They're beautiful, serene, tranquil cities. The Saudis go the extra mile to welcome pilgrims. And currently, their Islamic institutions in Saudi Arabia are undergoing massive reforms. As the 2030 vision by Prince Salman consolidates itself for the country's future, as Dr. Khalid indicated, 70% of the youth are under 30 in Saudi Arabia, and these reforms are directed toward their future. These reforms are incremental and reversible.
Indeed.
But they represent a systematic restructuring of religion's role in Saudi Arabia.
Great.
So we commend Saudi Arabia, and we encourage Saudi Arabia, its administration and its people to continue with these reforms, because Islam is a religion of moderation. The Prophet, may peace be upon him, was a man of moderation. He took the middle road. He didn't take either extreme. And that is what we want today. And, you know, the same thing applies to the newly liberated Afghanistan country.
Yes.
We want the middle road and not any extremes. This will allow these so-called Muslim majority countries to join the sovereign nations of the world, to join the nations of the world and contribute towards the betterment of humanity as a whole.
Amen. Well said, Abi. Khalid,
Yeah.
if you are there, you can take a minute to conclude it. You have to unmute. Khalid, you have to unmute. You have to unmute.
Yes,
Okay.
I have unmuted myself.
Thank you, Khaled.
What I would like to say, and whatever reforms are taking place in Saudi Arabia, you see, are being taken with the prime object of domestic progress. We are not doing these things so that the Western press will go gaga over us, or we want to be the blue-eyed boys of the Western media. We are doing this out of sheer realization that it's a do and or die situation. Our dependence on oil will become less. Our children will play a bigger role. Science, technology, social studies are now paramount. Doctors, engineers, artificial intelligence, these are the key subjects that are being discussed in any coffee shop among Saudis. And this is what is important. I take offense that we are taking, these progressive issues because others want us. No, because we want to do so. We want to be a part and parcel of the global economic activity. We are a part and parcel of humanity, and we also want to be viewed as moderates, as people who are middle of the road, as who have a religion, who are proud of their culture, and at the same time have the humility to know that the road is long and arduous, and inshallah we are going to reach our vision of 2030, and everyone will be involved in that.
Thank you very much.
Ameen.
Amen. Thank you very much. You want to say a short dua?
Wallah, all I can do is pray to Allah to guide all of us. I pray to the Almighty, the God of all, that in this world we will be together. We share values, we share good behavior, we share common challenges. Right now, the main challenge to everyone, regardless of race or religion, is the pandemic, diseases, hunger. These issues are to be, the environment. So with all this, we have shared challenges. And I hope and pray that all of us will work together to sort of overcome these challenges and make a better place for our children, who are the children of all humanity.
Thank you very much. With that, we conclude the program, and you can find this video at, if you go to YouTube and just type in Muslims Together, our Center for Pluralism, you will find the video late tonight. And the next program will start in about 12 minutes. It is about humility, how humility, a Islamic value, 10th value that we are calling, how humility changes the world. And if you don't have the link, just go to worldmuslimcongress.org, worldmuslimcongress.org, and right on the front homepage, you will find the second link. First link was this program. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Mike, will I be able to join with the same link?
No, it's the second link.
Is there a second one on the email?
Yes, it is there.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.